For this video, we're going to look at a couple examples of Hog Boy jugs that were made by Homer Laughlin in the early 1900s. We'll also look at an example of a Rokai jug. We'll start by looking at this page from a 1914 Homer Laughlin catalog, which shows Laughlin semi-vitreous hotelwares double thick. And in the bottom row, we have number 39, which is a Hog Boy jug. Number 40 is a Rokai jug, and 41 is the same as a Rokai jug, but it has an ice guard. So we'll start with the Rokai jugs. There were 9 different sizes of Rokai jugs available. And they start in the 4s, and these are trade sizes. So we go 4s, 6s, 12s, 24s, 30s, up to 36s, 42s, 48s, and 54s. So your 4s would be your largest size. And that would be about the size of an ewer that would go with a basin to form a toilet set. So it's a pretty big piece. Your 54s would be rather small. That's like the size of a toy creamer or from Harlequin or an individual creamer. Now, here's an example of a Rokai jug. This comes from 1917. So a lot of potteries that were also making hotelware in addition to just regular dinnerware would have had Rokai jugs. This is a very common shape. And it sort of ties into the last video I did on cableware, where every pottery was doing cableware. Well, when it comes to hotelware, a lot of the potteries were just doing identical shapes, if not very close to being identical. We're going to see that in a minute with the Hog Boy jugs. So there's the Hog Boy jug, number 39. There's only 2 sizes of Hog Boy jugs, the 24s and the 30s. And in the video on trade sizes, I mentioned the 24s is a pretty standard shape. The 30s is going to be a little bit smaller than the 24s. So we'll look at a couple other things real quick. This is a copy of a page from Wheeling Potteries of Wheeling, West Virginia. And it's promoting ironstone, white granite, queensware. This is about 1900. We see cable jugs at the top, Hog Boy jugs in the middle, and again, Rokai ice jugs at the bottom. And these are virtually identical to the Homer Laughlin versions. This copy comes from a Vaudreuil catalog from 1913. Vaudreuil was in East Liverpool. And we see bellboy jugs. So you'll see this different terminology. Instead of Hog Boy, you see bellboy. Bellboy seems to be a bit more appropriate name since these are used in hotels. And we see the 2 sizes, 24s and 30s. And this is a KT&K, or Knowles Taylor Knowles, East Liverpool, Ohio catalog from 1900. And we open up the page to the jugs, and at the bottom we see the Hog Boy jug again, very similar to the Homer Laughlin version. However, they offer 3 sizes, 30s, 24s, and 12s. The 12s is going to be the largest size. And they give some capacities. The 30s is 2.25 pints, 24s are 3.5 pints, and the 12s are 4.75 pints. I want to keep that open because we have another copy. This is from W.S. George. And again, Hog Boy jugs, very similar to the Homer Laughlin versions. And we have 3 sizes, 12s, 24s, and 30s. But their capacities are not identical to the KT&K ones. And this is an issue that pops up with trade sizes, that there's no conformity. So what they're calling a 30s jug here is only 2 pints, whereas KT&K it's 2.25. The 12s is 4.5 pints for W.S. George, but it's 4.75 pints for KT&K. We have an advertisement here that appeared in 1917 Butler Brothers catalog, and it's called Perfection, Homer Laughlin's Cable and Fancy Whiteware. So they've got a mix of cable shapes and some toiletware shapes. And we see the Hog Boy jug off to the side. So this was available not only at hotels, but anybody could buy these. Let's see, the Hog Boy jugs they've got. I was going to see what they were offering for, because these would have been per dozen. So it's here at the bottom. The 24s, 6 3/4 inch tall, $3 for a dozen of them. And this is an advertisement I wanted to print out from newspaper.com. It says, Hog Boy jug. What we mean by Hog Boy's jug is white porcelain water pitcher used mostly in hotels, but suited as well for family use. So you would come to this store between this time and you could get one of them for 5 cents. So that's a little bit about Hog Boy Jugs. Hog Boy, I looked it up, it means the lowest ranking member of male servants. So that's probably where it comes from, the term. Although I do like the bellboy term that Vaudry used better. So now we'll look at a couple examples and that'll be it. So the first one's an undecorated one, just plain whiteware. These seem to be the most popular because people who collect ironstone from this time period tend to get these over the decorated versions. No marking, I'm sorry, no date in the marking, so this comes from around 1910 or so. This one has the maroon band with golden casing lines around it. So this one is dated, let's see, 1915. And this is your 30s. So there's your 24s and your 30s, and you can see the difference in size. These are a little bit later because they have luster trims. Luster trims were not used until sometime after 1910 or so. This is pretty late. This is 1923. So we got the green luster with the rose decals. This luster is starting to wear off. It's a smaller version. Again, 24s and 30s. And this one comes from 1923 as well. This example is pretty discolored. It could use a good soak in a peroxide bath. It's got a really nice underglaze print in green, but it's an older one. And I wanted to show this one in particular because it has the Homer Laughlin hotelware marking. So it says Homer Laughlin Hotel, China. So if you collect Taylor, Smith & Taylor and you find these, sometimes you'll see the special hotel marking that TS&T used, and it'll say Chester Hotel. That doesn't mean that there was a hotel in Chester, it's just the name of the line they used for their hotelware, which was Chester, the city where TS&T was at. And this one is probably the latest example I have. This orange luster with this very 1920s decal. You'd probably see something like that on Quaker or Yellowstone. And this one's from 1929. You're not going to see too many of these in the 1930s, if any at all. That's the latest one I've encountered so far. And our last example, this is a really nice one. It has this scroll decal going around the top, which was used on several other shapes by Homer Laughlin. No date code, so this probably comes from around 1910. And I had pulled a couple other pieces to show this decal, because it does pop up from time to time. This is a sterling platter. And this has the eagle over lion back stamp. But this color would be called myrtle green, this nice deep dark green color, but it's the same decal as our blue version, just a different color. And finally we see the blue version again on this Lachlan Art China mug, or Stein mug, and it's an elk mug from, what's that say, Lodge 629. It's in pretty bad shape, but it has that same nice border. So that comes up every once in a while on a piece of hotelware particularly. So that's it, Hog Boy Jugs in trade sizes, 24s and 30s.